Today, the Apple versus Facebook battle heats up.
Then testimony on the Gamestop hearing. What to expect.
And with award season coming up, the Golden Globe nominations are announced.
I'm Alexa Scordato, and this is Future Forward.
I am Steven Rosenbaum. Let us launch. Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Steve.
So, it's funny. It's like, as we started to look at this week's pod, we're like, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about. Like, it's almost like as miserably hard as dealing with all the political stuff was. It was like, we can just talk about Apple versus Facebook, because it turns out that's really complicated and really interesting and really relevant. So maybe we should just start there, and then we'll do the two other chapters.
Great. So I love that we're talking about this. This is like my favorite tech rival. And I think this is going to signal sort of not the total end of Facebook, but like in the way that, AOL still exists. Like, this is it. Facebook is going to get their butts kicked.
So I just want to say the headline that's going to come, the tagline out of this pod is going to be, Alexa says, Facebook may be the next AOL. Ouch. Ouch. Serious shade. Impressive.
Yeah.
So, here's what's interesting to me. Explain to me how you think they're even competitors.
So when you think about access to the internet on mobile or on web, these two companies are both sort of portals into that. So you have iPhones, you have Safari, and when it comes to the distribution of content, Facebook is, a major platform that dictates the way that people consume content across Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram.
So I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but nobody really uses Safari, do they?
Some people do. Yeah, and Google pays Apple billions of dollars to be the default browser in Safari.
All right, but let's get back to so Facebook versus Apple is being characterized as a privacy battle.
Yeah. And it's because Apple has basically said, this is not like a Tim Cook thing. This is like a Steve Jobs thing circa 2011, that, when it comes to developing apps and soliciting what is going to happen to your data, app developers, app makers need to ask consumers constantly and get their explicit opt-in. And so Apple is actually taking sort of a harder stance on that in terms of the implementation. They're going to start asking consumers when you download an app, basically, almost very European GDPR-esque, like, do you want to be tracked? And what data are you willing to surrender to the app developer? Facebook thinks that this is egregious. They think that it's unfair. They think that it is overly antagonistic towards them.
So, but just in terms of kind of the overarching thing, I mean, historically, they've been in really different businesses. Facebook has given away its product for free and then sold the data, you as a user, consumer, to advertisers, right? So that's their business. Right. Apple, nothing's free. You go and you need to get a plug to fix your computer, and it's $79. I mean, everything is
it's hardware and then the app marketplace.
And the place where I think there's a fork in the road where they're both aiming toward being direct competitors is content, right?
Yep.
Which brings me to make a confession. I've been on this pod. I've said it before. I've never been a huge fan of Apple TV content, Apple Plus TV, Apple TV Plus. I lost the title. I started watching, in need of something lighthearted the other day, Ted Lasso.
Oh, everyone raves about that show.
I'm not gonna lie, it's just pretty damn funny.
People said it's
It
like one
was
of the best first seasons of TV that they've watched.
It's
All
just
10
right
have rated.
place, right time. Now, but having
Mhm.
said that, I also feel like Apple's attempt to, create their Apple News Plus product where, it seems like everything has a speed bump. You go to Apple News and within 2 seconds you're at a subscription, so haven't been a fan, have been disappointed. And but just for what it's worth, it's not that I mind paying for it. It's that the only way to pay for it is through my Apple ID, which is personal, and this would be a work expense, and I just can't figure out any way to manage it. So,
Yep.
um, so what's going to happen in this? Like what's going to happen in this battle? I mean, I don't understand. When
I have like
you
an
know
evil smirk on my face.
we
It's
need
so
to
bad.
inflict pain. We need to inflict pain means what?
Honestly, I don't even know. I think Mark Zuckerberg can't stand the thought of losing power. And I feel like anything that gets in the way of him, his agenda, or the way he wants to do things is so offensive to him.
But this is the way that he wins is by organizing app developers to kind of rise up collectively and start to fight Apple over, the 30% fee that they charge for all going
No,
forward revenue through the App Store.
they have no leverage, even if they were to get, whatever, 100 of the most popular apps. It's like, what alternative do those app developers have? It's iOS and Android, it's the Android or Google Play store and the Apple app marketplace that are the largest distribution channels to get those apps on people's devices. I just don't know what leverage Mark Zuckerberg has in the ads that have been run by Facebook in print. Um, I found them entertaining.
I mean, you would think he has bigger problems.
Yeah, it's
Given
just funny because it's like he's Tim Cook has never said Facebook blank. Facebook does bad things. But yet everyone is sort of like, or at least Mark Zuckerberg is like, he's talking about us. He's talking about us. And yes, but they're like one of many, many companies who are, I think, guilty of abusing consumer data or not being thoughtful enough about explicit permission-based marketing.
I'm not going to lie, I definitely like being, I don't mind spending a lot of money for my phone, and I feel like my relationship with Apple is way more transparent and cleaner than my relationship with Facebook or Instagram or Reddit or any of the or even Twitter to some extent.
10,000%. I think Apple is doing consumers a solid by saying, hey, we're just going to keep asking you like all the time, what do you want to have happen with what is your comfort level with your data and privacy? Like that's a net good thing for everybody. And so the fact that Mark Zuckerberg is like, wow, like we're being picked on, it's so immature, and he's gonna lose.
Yeah, it's not a good battle. I mean, you would have to peel my iPhone from my cold, dead hands for me to use Android.
Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg's response reminds me of like when you're like, I don't know, when people are talking and say someone's like, yeah, like racism is a really big problem in this country. I think we should be anti-racist. And then there's like the one schmuck in the corner who's like, I'm not racist. What are you coming at me for? And it's like, no one said your name. And if you have to defend the fact that you're not racist, 100%, you're totally racist.
All right, let's move on to chapter 2. So a couple of weeks ago, we dug into the GameStop hearing and I think maybe one of the most interesting pods we've had in a long time. with Katy Perry, who was fantastic. So now there's another whole chapter. Now there's going to be hearings on the 18th, and
I can't wait for this.
And what's interesting is the CEO of Reddit is going to testify. I just think he's a sock puppet, so whatever. But also the CEO of Robinhood is going to testify. And it's funny, if you read the coverage, so like we pulled up the Engadget piece, and then there's a CNET piece. There are also going to be Citadel and Melvin Capital testifying.
Mm-hmm.
So Melvin Capital, which, by the way, is that an unfortunate name for a Melvin Capital? Seems like
yeah. It sounds like the lost monopoly space or something.
But Melvin lost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I assume Citadel lost a lot of money too. So does anybody believe this hearing's going to be useful other than to be like a food fight?
No, I think it's like another one of these hearings that is like, let's explain to our congressional leaders how the world works. It's going to be educational, but I don't really think anything is going to come of it. But unlike the hearings with Zuckerberg and Dorsey, like this one actually, I think this one's just going to be more entertaining. I mean, if you think about the title of the hearing, if this was like an episode in this week's national court hearings, it's called Gamestop: Who Wins and Loses When Short Sellers, Social Media, and Retail Investors Collide. I mean, it could be like a 60 Minutes episode.
Here's what I don't get. Here's what I don't get about pump and dump. If I say to you, hey, Alexa, I'm in this stock and I think it's going to go to the moon. Like, meanwhile, I know that I've short sold the stock. Mm-hmm. I don't think me saying that to you personally is illegal, right? I can tell you what.
Unless you like worked at the company or something and you knew something.
But if I post it on social media, is that pump and dump? Like, where's the line between individual free speech and me saying, hey, I'm in this stock and I think it's going to go great when I've actually bet against it, and I think it's like, and becoming a stock swindler?
I mean, isn't it just about, okay, it's when like insider trading is what people are questioning, and I guess it's a matter of what information is being made available to whom and in what context. And I actually think with the Wall Street bets, I don't think it was new information. I actually think it was information that was observed by an astute person, and people just capitalized on that information. But I don't think laws were broken.
Well, but I think that's what the hearing's about, is essentially if so it really comes down to, I think, and maybe if one of our listeners who's listening live wants to jump on to chat either in YouTube or Facebook or Twitch now and make a comment, that would be helpful. I think it has to do with amplification, right? So I mean, nobody believes that GameStop is worth $500 a share. Nobody. There's no fundamentals that say it's worth that. So you're playing musical chairs and someone's going to lose. Mm-hmm. That stock is going to float back down to earth.
Yep.
But yeah. But meanwhile, Reddit, which was a $3 billion company, is now a $6 billion company in the scheme of over the period of this little window. So,
mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone at some level, yeah. I think what Congress is trying to figure out, and I'm not sure this hearing is the place to do it, but does there need to be some financial regulation around how things are published in social media that relate to stock solicitation?
Might be. I mean, I think it also begs a question around, do they need to regulate day trading apps? like Robinhood and Public and basically prevent scenarios where sort of like first time traders or like non-experienced traders can kind of actually pile on. And if they were to think that, is that fair and a violation of people's rights?
You know, when you look to invest in startups, for example, one of the things about all the money that goes into these early stage, companies is you need to be an accredited investor.
Right.
And that phrase, which is not known widely in the public, means you've got money in the bank you can afford to lose. And you have to be able to prove it. So, there's nobody who's on Robinhood or Public, as I understand it. I mean, they ask for a little bit of information from you, but nobody's asking you to prove that you're not betting the rent money, right?
Right. That's how that kid unfortunately got into trouble over the summer. Like he was in the red like $700,000, and then committed suicide.
But that's no different than Vegas, right? When you roll into the casino at Vegas, they don't say we need to see your bank balance and what's your rent.
Right.
What are you paying rent, and we want to make sure you're actually not spending grandma's medicine money. They don't care.
It's funny thinking about that though. Like I bet there are a lot of lives who would not have been ruined if there actually were sort of tighter guardrails on who actually gets to participate.
Well, I think Robinhood would protest mightily about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the whole ethos, and Katie said this on the show, is like it's to democratize finance, and it's like why is it only a privileged elite insider class that basically gets to participate? Like if you look at the stock market, right, I think something like 80% of Americans like don't actually have stocks.
You never know that from listening to the news every day where they report the stock market numbers like they're the weather.
Right? Yeah.
All right, so we're going to watch this hearing, and like maybe just
With
kind of wrap
popcorn.
up this. Yeah, I mean, like, do we think there are going to be winners and losers? Do you think Congress is like geared up to like punish somebody?
I just don't think they even really understand how it works. I don't think anything's going to happen. It's going to be neutral.
All right, but like you're missing my question. Somebody wants this. Like, do the Melvin Capital people and the Citadel people are they've got the direct cell phone of some of the people on that committee, and they're saying, look, we got to do something about this. You got to put a stop to this. Having these random people gang up on us with their pennies and nickels and essentially make us lose billions of dollars is bad for the like they're making I would guess a pretty passionate plea to have some regulation of Robinhood.
Yeah, I just don't really know what that looks like. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like rich people want their money back, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think they want their money back as much as they want all
they want
these
to they want to
rabble-rousers.
safeguard the rest of their money and make sure that people aren't, the angry digital mob isn't going after their assets proactively.
Let's move on to the last topic of the pod for today, but the one that in some ways is the most fun, which is, at least in my mind, the Golden
Award
Globes
season. Yes.
I always watch everything. It's I vote in the PGA awards. I'm a member, so I make an effort to watch everything that's up that is going to be important. This year has been kind of extraordinary, actually. So first thing, just to know the facts are, no one quite knows what the Golden Globes are going to look like. I mean, there are going to be two hosts. One's going to be on the West Coast. One's going to be on the East. It's unclear how many of the Foreign Press Association are going to be in the auditorium in LA Presumably, people aren't
Yep.
flying in from Europe.
There are going to be presenters who join Tina Fey and Amy Poehler in their respective coasts. Like I think Rockefeller Center maybe is or Radio City is where they're doing the New York City one. And so there are going to be presenters joining the hosts in each coastal venue, which is I don't even know how that's gonna work, but
well, and do keep in mind that the dirty secret about the Golden Globes is that they are historically a bit of a shit show. I mean, it's a dinner. There's a lot of alcohol. People get wasted. It's a much looser, more collegial, slightly goofier event than the Academy Awards, which everyone sits in a chair and wears a tuxedo and has. So
right.
Unless people plan to day drink the Golden Globes at home, which is entirely possible, it won't have that level of just potential out of boundness, which is a shame.
I bet there are a ton of celebrities though who are so excited to just sit in their PJs at home, open a bottle of like Veuve Clicquot, and just watch at home instead of the hullabaloo of the red carpet. I would love to poll everyone who normally goes to these things.
So here's a thing that's fascinating. This year's Golden Globe ambassadors assisting with the handing out of the trophies will be Satchel and Jackson Lee, children of 3-time Golden Globe nominees Spike Lee, and producer Tonya Lewis Lee. This marks the first time in the Golden Globes history that 2 siblings of color have held this position, with Jackson being the first Black male ambassador. So we're getting the whole Spike Lee family.
I don't even think I do not associate Spike Lee with kids. I can't even recall like a photo where I've seen them. It's so funny.
It's a bit of a coming out party for the Lee family. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's but again, Hollywood, very much trying to deal with the BLM movement and what's going on with inclusion in America, which I think is overdue and fantastic. So let's just go through some of the nominees. We won't get through all of them just because we don't have enough time. But let's start with Best Motion Picture Drama. So we've got The Father, Mank, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of Chicago 7.
Did you watch all of these?
No. I watched about 15 minutes of Mank and just couldn't get through it. I don't know why I didn't watch more of these. I will tell you that I watched The Trial of the Chicago 7, which I thought was fantastic. I'm an Aaron Sorkin fan, and so watching his take on that story I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I was surprised was not on that list was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which to me was the best film of the year.
Did you? People also said that Spike Lee was snubbed, his Vietnam pick. Did you see that?
Snubbed is a tricky thing. I just wasn't up. I watched a little because it's Spike and I admire his work, but I wasn't up for another war movie. Just couldn't consume it. All right, so let's move on to Best Director. Emerald
3
Fennell,
women. Woohoo!
David Fincher, Regina King, Aaron Sorkin, and Chloe Zhao. I should watch.
Last year there were no women in this category, and now this year there are 3.
I'm making a note that I have to watch Promising Young Woman because it's coming up all over. Do you have a pick?
No, I don't. I feel like I've been it's weird because we spent so much time at home in the last year, but I just didn't watch a lot of movies.
Yeah. I would be surprised. I think Fincher may win. The buzz on Mank is really good. It's a Hollywood movie. Fincher's, is a legend. That being said, I will watch Promising Young Woman before I make a pick. Best actor, really, we know exactly who it is. There's zero chance it's anyone other than Chadwick Boseman.
Really?
Yeah. He was amazing in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. He was an
Do
amazing
people usually
actor.
win posthumously? Like the last person I remember was Heath Ledger.
I'm just telling you, any amount of money you want to bet, $1, $5, $10,000, doesn't matter. I'm totally one. I mean, he was brilliant in that film, and was a brilliant actor. So, all right, best actress. Viola I'm, again, I've already given up. I thought Viola Davis was extraordinary.
Frances McDormand, though, I feel like it could go to her, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we have to watch Promising Young Woman because Carey Mulligan is also incredible.
All right, so that's our homework assignment, viewers, listeners. If you haven't watched, and by the way, again, jump into the chat if you've watched Promising Young Woman and you want to add your 2 cents. All right, best motion picture, musical or comedy: Borat, Hamilton, Palm Springs, The Prom, or music. I don't know what music is. That seems like an unfair. Putting Hamilton against Borat seems just like a twisted, evil. Like,
I didn't even think that Hamilton was eligible, or maybe it was for the Academy Awards, like on a technicality or something. Like it wasn't originally made for film. I don't know. But yeah, to your point, it just feels weird to see Hamilton in this list.
Hamilton's going to win. I mean, even though I very much enjoyed Borat, it's just Hamilton. My money's on Hamilton, hands down.
Did you see The Prom?
I have not. I'm realizing I have to do some homework. I thought I'd seen all of these. All right, so we have time for one more category because then we're going to run out of time. I'd like to see nonfiction. Animation, whatever. All right, I don't see nonfiction on this list.
The Prom was surprising because James Corden was nominated, but Meryl Streep was not. I was shocked. I feel like she always just gets nominated by default.
Like,
how did she get nominated for Mamma Mia and not The Prom? Weird.
I can only say this. If you've been inside some of these nomination processes, as I have for a bunch of judging over the years, it's not a science. It's not a science. It's a combination of how people
Is it like
feel.
A popularity contest? Is it more like superlatives in a high school yearbook?
Partly, but also keep in mind, I mean, many of these films have varying degrees of investment in awards campaigns. And, so, I mean, these voters, I mean, nobody's holding their feet to the fire. So it's like they get a gift box and they get a film copy, and then they invited to a chat, and then they're at a Q&A, and then they, there's a lot of significant
like lobbying.
Dollars. Yeah, like lobbying.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know that I would have watched Ma Rainey, except that Pam said to me, I really, 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 really want to watch this film. And I got about 5 minutes into it, and I was embarrassed because I just thought it was going to, I don't know what I thought it was. It wasn't in my consciousness. It's something I had to watch. And then once I was 5 minutes in, I was glued to the whole film.
Oh,
all right.
5 minutes. Okay.
All right. So I should know this. When are the Golden Globes? Soonish. Did you freeze? Are you there? Oh. Hello. It looks like Alexa has frozen. So she's going to have to log back in. We'll have to wrap up the show. Alexa. All right. Well, we are out of time. Thank you all for joining us. And we will be back again next week with another episode of Future Forward. See you soon. Bye.